coming up, but thankfully we can do this podcast now at a very unusual time. Actually, the original idea was to have this stream at 9 p.m. Irish time, but as Frank is traveling tonight back to Cork.
Tomorrow morning, so I will be on a family dinner this evening, right?
Okay, I understand. Okay, yeah. So that makes sense. Yeah. And yeah, but good that you found another slot so we can do this stream now. And tonight we have another topic. The original idea was to follow up on the French election, but in the meantime, the Trump the Trump incident happened. And Biden stepped back from his election campaign. So the most likely candidate will be Kamala Harris. And out of this hot news, I decided to talk about the upcoming election with the most likely candidate, Kamala Harris against Trump. And yeah, so Frank, before we talk about that, could you give a quick introduction of yourself?
Yes, of course. Frank Houthaven, 42 years old, from 1981.
That's a very
Belgian,
sexy.
Like just a guy. I'm just employed, work my 9 to 5, pay my taxes, live in Ireland. I'm Belgian, from mixed race family. My father is Belgian, my mother is from Congo, and they met in Belgium. And I think that from young age already, I was really beaten by curiosity in everything that's social and politics and that kind of stuff, because my mom would always watch everything that's on the news, a lot of documentaries and that kind of things. And to come back to what you said, yes, we move on from the French politics, the French elections. Yet you will see that there are a lot of parallels with what's happening in the United States, and a lot of things that are happening all around the world are kind of really similar. You can find a lot of conversion points. So there, I think indeed it's good to move on from the French elections, because it's already a little bit in the past, but not to forget that the success of what happened in the French elections first, let's say for the far right, if we call it like that, for the Rassemblement National, and then the far left that won the elections with Mélenchon, is actually what we're seeing now as well with the American elections. It's all about there's not any moderation anymore. It's all about extremes, where there is an extreme on the left or an extreme on the right. And that's my because I looked at it and I was thinking, like, how did the climate, the political climate, the social climate change so much? And there are a lot of elements, and I think that especially one of the elements where we see that the demographics also are changing locally, and that in my case being mixed race Belgian, I'm also a part of that changing demography. I truly believe that indeed it's interesting to see how that has an influence and impact on how people look nowadays on politics, and how it influences the votes. So from there, actually, as just a guy, I'm also interested to, well, let's call it a native European German, to also have that point of view, because obviously my world has been built on my father being white, my mom being black Congolese with African roots. That mixture, although I grew up in a majority white society and environment, there are still some things that sometimes I don't understand. And I think it's great that we have that conversation so that, because from what I understood, you as well, you try a little bit to understand how people with different background than the native one also look at those things. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's very important. So like we are two middle-aged men,
Yeah.
ordinary men who work 9 to 5. We are not we are not celebrities. Neither neither are we social media icons. We are just two ordinary men in the same age with slightly different backgrounds, with some similarities. You grew up in Belgium. I grew up in Germany. You are from a mixed race family. I'm from a white northern German German family. Both of us, we immigrated to Ireland years ago. So that is, there are many elements that we have in common, and a few elements that are different. And I personally would like to know, what did you do shortly after the Trump incident? Were you following the news, and did you check what was happening on social media at that time, or did you do other things?
So of course, and that's funny. I received the news through my social media. It's on Facebook that I saw that it happened, and I was like, "Wait, what's going on there?" So then I went to the mainstream media news pages, and I saw like, "Whoa!" And actually, to me, it's really bad. First of all, any assassination attempt is completely wrong and should always be condemned. But I remember and that the first thing that I told my fiance was like, luckily the person that tried to do the attempt is not someone coming from a minority.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Especially like you see on social media. Like I said, it's all going all really extremely to the right or extremely to the left. And like, because now it was not someone coming from a minority that did it, but a white person. The the comment was more about the far left that tried to, and it still had to be proven, that tried to kill Trump. Then again, it's those foreigners and those minorities, and so it's strange that in a certain way that's one of the first thing you think about,
Mm-hmm.
but in the end, very happy that nothing happened to Trump. I think it's really sad that now people think that that's the way how you can.
One person died, and the other was severely injured. That should also be
And
said.
yeah, and that's really that. Like, I mean, it's deplorable. Like, if you, let's say, if you don't agree with someone and you go that far that you want to kill that person, and in the meantime don't care about collateral damage,
Yeah.
it's really not good. And those families, I'm in mind with them, and I to the survivors, I wish them a lot of strength, and to the uh, family of the people who passed away, I present my condolences, because this is a tragedy, of course.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah. I think we both agree on that. And actually, it's interesting that you just mentioned that this was your first thought, or that, so that no one, and that you were relieved that Trump didn't die, but first thought that came up for you was that hopefully it's not someone from a minority. And that's quite interesting. So I actually wanted to ask you that, but you answered that question yourself. And it's interesting how people perceive this murder attempt. And what I have now experienced is that people from, well, within my inner circle actually, who usually do not believe into conspiracies, are now a little bit suspicious, or that not even a little bit, but that they were closely shortly after the incident going on X and checking the news, and like with any other big incident, there are a lot of things that are spreaded, and some of the things are true, some of the things are half true, and some of the things, these are either videos from that place, but sometimes videos that are actually not linked to that place. So there are a lot of things that are then spreaded on social media, where you cannot really tell in the beginning if this is true or not. So some videos actually have been taken from the shooter before he did that, and some things look very very, very bad for the Secret Service, because it looks like it was very sloppy, and that actually creates room for conspiracy. So how could this happen, that a young man with a rifle went up the roof and could point at Trump, and how could this, and why was the shooter immediately shot by someone from the Secret Service? So
That's a good question, because I remember telling my fiance, like, but normally the Secret Services and the FBI, they're like trained shooters. I remember, like, I have a past in the army. We're trained actually to pinpoint some like areas. So why hasn't a shooter been like shot in the shoulder, or in the legs, or like disarmed? Normally you can shoot to disarm someone.
yeah.
Like well-trained people, they can shoot to disarm someone, and there you see that they went for the kill. And her reaction was, yeah, but Frank, those are the United States. That's what they do. I think you can look at it two ways. Like, indeed, taking, like, okay, in the United States, it's kind of normal that police kill people easier. Is it true? Is it not true? I know that's a little bit the way how we perceive things. I don't live in the United States. I don't know for sure. But I also know that by doing that, of course, we were not in their place. We cannot judge for them, because I've never been in a situation that I had to make that call. On the other hand, of course, by having made that call, you create an open door to have people speculating, like, is there something that they wanted to hide? On the other hand, I want to say that every time when something like that happens, like if you see the attacks back in the day in Paris, the terrorist attacks in Paris, the terrorist attacks in Brussels, and 9/11, every time when there's something that happens, you will see that there were always like human mistakes, that people think, like, and asking questions like, how is it possible? And because we have that kind of unknown where we cannot grasp what happens, or because we never been in that situation, but we think about what could have happened differently, people would easily go to there must be a conspiracy behind it. And let's not forget that we live in the age of conspiracy theories.
Yeah, well, conspiracy theories are not something new, and just to have the fact of conspiracy, you just need two people to create a conspiracy. But the thing is that it's first, everyone from all over the world can easily contribute to this conspiracy by creating assumptions, or by sharing videos that someone else had shared before, or by sharing videos which have nothing to do with the actual incident, but you change the caption of the video, and suddenly so many people start believing that this was what happened there. You know, like this happens very often with war scenes. You know, that they actually use old footage from Syria for
Yeah.
other wars in Gaza or Ukraine or vice versa.
Yeah.
And so it's really hard to tell from, you know, what is really, is there something staged, or is this something art? Is it just human failure? I find this very difficult, but I also find it quite remarkable that more and more people tend to believe that there's something behind that. And well, you cannot completely rule that out. And on the other hand, there can always, even professionals can do mistakes, and even this person who's a professional sniper has probably never been in a similar situation like this. He has trained this many times before, many times. But how often does it happen? How often does a situation happen like this in real life, even for professional snipers? So I don't know if this is like a reflex to kill that person in that very moment, to avoid that he can do any further harm. So this is very difficult to say, but
And let's not forget,
we should not touch too much on that.
no,
Now,
yeah,
maybe more.
I just
more
wanted, to close on that. That it's a call that we have to make it like a blink of an eye. It's not only Donald Trump that was at risk. Other people died. Other people got injured. At that time, you have to make a decision in a blink of an eye. So
Yeah.
I believe that that's also something that people should take into consideration before saying like, oh, they tried to cover up something, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, but what we can say, it has created a total new dynamic, and that it looked as this would be the guarantee that Trump is going to win the election. And then Biden was under pressure. He didn't do well in the interview, or in the in this TV fight with Donald Trump, and so the pressure from the Democrats and from outside was too big, and this incident probably was accelerating this process. So Biden stepped down, or I mean, he's still president, but he will not run for a second term, and so now most likely Kamala Harris will be the nominee. And so, do you feel a relief, or do you feel a relief that someone else as Biden is doing it? And do you feel happy, or or is it for you completely irrelevant that a black woman is potentially the next president of the United States?
well, let's not forget, half Afro-American, half Asian American, right?
Half, yeah, sorry, yeah.
And the woman, and definitely younger, more dynamic.
Yeah.
I believe in a debate that she will trash Trump, definitely.
Yeah.
Because let's say Trump won against Biden, but he was not great either during the debate. Yet, in the overall outcome for the election, so I do think that she has a fighting chance. I don't think that she will win, but she has more chances than Biden. A lot will depend also on her running mate. That she will have to make the right choice when she picks a running mate. But Biden, let's say, he aged, and although he has the same age as Trump, they didn't age the same way.
Yeah.
You have to admit. But Trump also aged. Yeah, Trump has a really good running mate. He has a running mate that's loved by a lot of the people, both on the right and the left. And most important of all in American politics, that running mate is also loved by the business people of the United States. So it will be very, very important for Kamala Harris to find a running mate that at least is as popular with corporate and banking America as is Trump's running mate.
Do you know what? I don't know what we can rule out.
What can we rule out?
That her running mate will be a woman.
Definitely, it will be a man, and I think even probably a white man, because if it's not a white man, it should be someone very close to the profile Barack Obama has. I don't see a lot of them running around in the United States actually, because let's not forget Barack Obama was someone really, really special, mixed race, but from the south, of the United States. A descendant of the first president of the Confederate States of the United States, so from Jefferson Davis.
Very upper class.
Yeah, very upper class, but like he was a descendant of the first president, the first and only president of the Republic of the South. You know, when you had the Civil War, Jefferson Davis. So that also plays a certain role. Really well educated, you know, and people, especially on the right, like because he was at that time against McCain, there were even a lot of people on the right, Republicans, that were really charmed by Barack Obama. I believe that's nowadays the real strength of Trump is that with his running mate, he has a lot of supporters on people that normally would vote Democrat, but that now will vote Republican. And that is what Kamala Harris also needs, a running mate that can ally someone like Elon Musk and other people from Silicon Valley too. Instead of
but also the white working class.
There you have Trump. And that, indeed, there is where the Republicans do it really, really well. I don't see Kamala Harris convince the white working class to vote for her. But if you find someone that can, there is where I think that Trump actually will win the elections, because I don't see any profile in the United States that can reconcile both. And there you have it at the Republicans. You have Trump, the voice of the people. You have his running mate, the voice of corporate and banking America.
Yeah, and interestingly, when he ran in 2016, he had to find a running mate like Mike Pence to get the votes from the evangelicals.
Exactly.
And now he has the support from them, even though he is a man who's not really living this life of evangelicals. You know, he has been divorced 3 times, and he did he did a lot of things that cannot be seen as something very how to say humble into God, or like following the path of God, but he has completely the support now from the evangelicals without having someone as running mate like Mike Pence, you know. So they really see him as someone who has been sent by God. And so now this time he had the privilege, in my opinion, that he could choose another a different running mate who's more aligned to him than Mike Pence. So if something like 2016, oh no, sorry, the Capitol, the run on the Capitol happens again, he didn't have the support from Mike Pence, but this time he will have the support of JD Vance, what's his name? Yeah.
Yeah. And then again, he learned actually from his defeat. As Biden, he had that support, right? He had the support of Elon Musk. He had the support of, like, let's say, corporate and banking America, financial America, which I think he underestimated, because where back in the day, the American elections were won in the mainstream media. Now it's won on the social media.
Mm. Yeah, right. So like this time, I mean, he was great on social media. Probably he was the first president to, or maybe Obama also, but he was, his presidency was different than any other presidency before, and now we have a very different dynamic as in 2020, and we see a lot of anger. And I don't know, I think the Democrats are much better off now with Kamala Harris if she becomes the candidate, because now Trump looks old. Trump is the old guy now, the guy who's aging.
Yeah.
And Kamala Harris is representing a totally different type of people and values than Kamala Harris. However, there's a lot of resentments towards her, and I don't know, maybe you can tell better, but do you think that she can get the vast majority of the Black working class?
Well, that's an interesting question, because I thought about it, and she definitely will have the support of a majority of them. But don't forget that a lot of, especially Black men, are really conservative. They're really patriarchal still. Let's not forget that although the United States, on one hand, is very progressive, it's also very conservative. And that's what you see actually on social media. That's when you take it back to the elections in France. France is way less patriarchal than the United States, but it's definitely as extreme on both sides. Like Macron from the start lost because he was too centered. It would have been definitely like the right, extreme right, or the extreme left. And Macron, he himself positioned himself more to an extreme on the right, I think, thinking that it would counterbalance the Rassemblement National. But in the United States, it's completely differently, because what's called there the left is not socialist left. They're still corporate people. They're still liberals, and capitalists. They're just progressive. And there, I think that when you see with what we didn't touch upon when we talked about the French elections, it's the woke culture. The vote for the Rassemblement National was also not only a vote against, because we talked about it, against Islam, it was, and migration, it was definitely also a vote against woke culture and more conservative values. I truly believe when you see social media nowadays, whether it's Facebook or Twitter, there is really little space for moderate voices. And like, even if you see like stand-up comedians that were always known as liberals and progressive people, you see them go more to the right, and not only the white stand-up comedians, but also the black ones, the Mexicans, so even the minorities there become way more conservative in their thinking because everything that came from the woke movement became too extreme to a certain point. And it's actually really funny because I actually looked up the definition of woke.
Yeah.
And if you take the literal definition, I would actually consider myself a woke person. So, meaning of woke in English, aware, especially of social problems such as racism and inequality. How can you be against that?
Mm-hmm.
But it's what they did with it, I think, to a certain point that probably went to an extreme that people are like, no, now it's going too far. And
Mm-hmm.
even your strongest spokespeople, which on the moment were like the stand-up comedians, actors, artists, they're starting to have a pushback on it. And the issue is that if sometimes you don't your opinion doesn't align fully
Mm-hmm.
with the political opinion, that you receive a lot of pushback. And what do you do if you feel attacked? Well, you go in a defense mode.
Yeah, right. So like even if you consider yourself as woke, you probably cannot be woke enough for others who are more woke than yourself, and they will tell you, no, you're not woke, you are a boomer, or you are more to the right, you know? So like I think many are tired of these niche topics, you know, like when they see discussions or debates like, is the word, can a restaurant actually call their cuisine exotic because they are actually an Asian restaurant, and is exotic a term which is, I don't know, condescending, you know? And you know, these things are being debated quite, you know, it feels like, maybe this is just a feeling, but I think many have these feelings that these topics are taking too much space in public discussions. We have this in Germany that we discuss, like, should we be should we use a gender conform language, or should this be mandatory in universities, and so on and so forth, you know? So these are things that are part of the debate, and what people who cannot really align to these topics see as niche topics, or as lifestyle topics of people who are from a certain elite, you know, because working class people can probably not relate so much to these kind of things, you know. For them it's not something that is really relevant, whether we gender or whether we call cuisine exotic or not, you know. And so this is probably what people see as woke culture, and that this is taking too much place, and so that therefore people are very have a lot of resentments against this kind of woke culture. And even though it originates from something which most people actually can relate and sign it, but for some, or for many, it went too far.
Yeah, well, exactly. I'll say it again. What is woke? Aware, especially of social problems such as racism and inequality. I don't know anyone that's against that. But
Yeah.
when it's taken out of proportion, people will not listen anymore. Again, I said his name a couple of times. Elon Musk. You see, Elon Musk, he voted Obama, he voted Biden, and now he's voting Trump. You see what
Yeah.
I mean?
Mm.
That's you cannot go. You cannot almost take more of a 180 than that. Why? does he do it? It's because he feels that he's not supported anymore, or his um, hey, values, his belangen, what he wants that's good for him and his business is not really represented anymore by what the Democrats were doing. I think
Well,
that
actually, in regards to Elon Musk, it needs to be said that one of his kids has decided to change his gender, and so he has a personal story for this kind of wokeness, and he's actually blaming this woke culture that one of his kids decided at a very early age to change his or her gender. I don't know if, I don't know if it was his son or his daughter, but this is what I recently read, and it's right that's one of his kids actually is changed his gender, his or her gender, and so this is why he has personal resentments against this culture. But and on the other hand, I think it's really taking a lot of room now, this kind of woke culture, and I do not see much difference between Republicans and Democrats in terms of how to run the economy, so like that Democrats are more to the left and Republicans more to the right, but within the Democrats there are many who are very liberal and would not be considered as left in our European dimensions. And so I don't know for what Kamala Harris stands for. Is she someone who's pro unions? Is she someone who wants to have closer economical ties with the EU, and wants to have custom fees on custom tariffs on things that are imported into the EU? I don't know much about this, and I don't see much of a difference, but I think and I see that this woke culture is above all,
I believe that Kamala Harris actually is is she a lawyer? Yes, she's a district attorney. So she actually represents let's say not the government, but the institutions on the matter of law, right? So and she was also a persecutor, public persecutor. So she really is not the same way that actually Barack Obama was a corporate lawyer. She was more in the institution, the public institutions. So she has less ties to corporate America. But where I think she really made a difference when she was the running mate of Biden as a sort of counterbalance is that Biden again had the image of the old white man coming from corporate America. Biden is definitely not a Bernie Sanders when you talk about socialism, but she came in as a woman, as a minority from the Afro-American community, from the Asian American community, and standing for law and order.
Yeah, and it's probably not very far-fetched to say that this was the main aspect why she was chosen as his running mate, because she's not a white man. She's a black Asian American, and and so this so you need to have, like, as a president and vice president or a running mate, you need to represent a big spectrum, and so this is why Republicans usually go for someone who's more, progressive and well, like more friendly or more corporate America, more business friendly, and someone who's more religious, and now as the demographic is also changing, you probably as you will always have to have this constellation in the near future that you either have a black people of color running as president, and if not, it has to be a man and a woman, and it has to be white and a person of color. I think in the near future. Otherwise, it will be difficult to get the most relevant groups in the US. And maybe this does not apply yet to Republicans. So because now we have one old guy and a young guy, both are white, and JD Van is probably in a one of the, if Trump is becoming president again, JD Vance will be probably one of the most powerful vice presidents due to the fact that Trump is aging.
Yeah. And there I think that Kamala, actually, she didn't use her time well as a vice president under Biden. I think that she didn't profile herself enough. Like, do you kind of know what she stands for? And actually, before we go to that point, I wanted to say that we talked about the support she could have within the Afro-American community, where in a certain way it's easier because Afro-Americans look at themselves as Afro-Americans. But if you look at the Asian American community, they don't look each other as one group of Asian Americans. They really look at themselves as Korean Americans, Chinese Americans, Pakistani Americans, Afghan Americans. So there you really have that subdivision. That, the same way that the Afro-Americans are kind of united through their history, through slavery. You don't have that with Asian Americans. So even within the group of Asian Americans, she probably will only appeal to, or mostly appeal only to the group where her mom comes from, or that I don't know. But as well, they are also very patriarchal communities more than matriarchal communities. So also really conservative. So yes, she will appeal to minorities, but definitely not as much as Barack Obama back in the day.
Probably, and I don't know, but I think the Latinos, it's not clear who's going to get the most votes for the Latinos, Trump or Kamala Harris.
But Trump is really popular with the Latinos. But the Latinos, again, you have the Mexican, you have the Ecuadorians, the Puerto Ricans. You see there again, there are so many subcultures.
It's not a homogenic group, the Latinos.
It's not like the Afro-Americans, because they're not sharing the same history. They're not sharing the same past. They have their own struggles. The Mexicans and the Colombians and the Bolivians, they identify differently within the group of the Latinos or the Latinx,
And especially like the Cubans and Venezuelans who fled from communism will support Trump most likely, so so there's a lot of division between the Latinos, so Latinos who are more to the left and Latinos who are more to the right, but as many Cubans are also a very relevant group within the Latinos. Probably, I don't have the exact numbers, but this is my assumption, would vote for Trump as they see anything close to socialism as a threat.
Because Fidel Castro, yeah, definitely. And that we saw actually in the elections, Hillary against Trump. like the Democrats thought that they would have the votes of the minorities easily because of Trump's comments against the Mexicans, but the Cubans, they don't really care about those comments against the Mexicans or Cubans. Trump never said anything about Cubans.
Yeah, yeah, right. And so like also like refugee groups or immigrants are also not a homogenic group, you know. So some of them are like within immigrants communities that there's a hierarchy as well, and they see new coming immigrants as threat, and that this is why you see groups like Latinos for Trump, you know, immigrants for Trump, even though Trump is one of the most anti-immigrant politicians we ever had in the United States. Even like Republicans in the past, Ronald Reagan, they had not been so much anti-immigrant as Trump or George Bush. None of them had been so anti-immigrant as he, and yet you will find groups of immigrants, and not small groups of immigrants who would rather vote for Trump than for Kamala Harris.
Yeah. And funny thing, you remember last time when we were talking about the elections in France, and that we on a moment went to the discussion about an Islam issue more like in Europe, and I'm like, what do you mean the issue with Muslims? Which Muslims? Are you talking about North Africans, Asians, East European Muslims? It's exactly the same the same conversation here. Which minorities, which Latinos, which Asians are you talking about? The only group you can actually do that is the Afro-Americans, because they have a common past. They came there through the slave trade, so they share that history. But all the other Latin Americans, all the other Asians, it's the same distinction. Yes, you can call them one group of Asian Americans and Latino Americans, the same way that you can call all the Muslims Muslims. But then when you look, actually, not every Latino, not every Asian, and not every Muslim is a part of the same community, nor group, nor they don't share the same values just because they are put in the same group. You see what I mean?
Yeah. Of course, you know, we tend to make things simple, or we tend to generalize things to make it simpler sometimes.
Yeah.
And you know, it's, you know, some things are definitely true about groups or like identities, and yet within these groups there's so much diversity. And for example, I have a friend, and I did a few streamings with him. But unfortunately, it's in German, so you cannot watch it, or maybe with subtitles. He's actually he's black, but he was born in Eastern Germany into a white family. I cannot tell too much about him. I think that would be not fair to give too much detail. But you know, he was born in 1986 in Eastern Germany, and he has a total different story than most black Germans, and so of course he has many, you know, he's been seen as such, but he's very much to the right. He's very pro-Trump. He's very much against this woke culture. He's very much against this Black Lives Matter movement, for various reasons, you know. And he's even voting for the anti-immigrant party in Germany, the alternative for Germany, and he's someone who went very much to the right during the pandemic, you know. And so every biography is different. This is what I wanted to say, and you're absolutely right when you say that, you know, there are, you know, different different stories, and that these communities are not, that they are not homogenic, but they are, the demographic factor is very relevant in the United States and also in Europe. And so we will see now who gets. I'm very, very curious to see who's going to win in the end. I think it's very open, this election, and also like this this election system in the United States it's very, very outdated, very hard to grasp, and not always fair in many ways with the system of these,
the electoral college, where
electoral college,
even the candidate with the most votes overall end up losing because some electoral colleges have more weight than others. Yeah, I know. That's how Bush won from Al Gore, right?
Yeah, and also like Trump didn't win the popular vote against Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, true. Yeah, so actually Trump won the same way against Hillary, then Bush won against
exactly.
Yeah. That's a system, And
that's a system, and well, it has also. It's not completely wrong in that sense that like tiny states in the US have the same vote, or that tiny groups of people in smaller states have also a say into politics. But I don't know, like let's say Wyoming has 600,000 citizens, and California has, I don't know, 20, 30, I don't know how many millions live in California, but California has maybe eight electoral voters, and Wyoming 3, so it's not equal, and so therefore there's always a strange dynamic for us to see in the election, and so that makes it very likely that if Trump is going to lose again, that he will not accept his defeat.
Yeah, but again, so do you really think that let's say, like, to be honest, at this point, if there were elections now, I believe Trump wins. So a lot will depend for Camilla to have a fighting chance. A lot will depend on her running mate. But do you really think if Trump loses and he tries to pull off what he tried to pull off last time, that he will get as far as he did last time? Because last time people were not prepared. They were not thinking he would do it. Now people know that, okay, he can do it, so we'll take our measures even within the Republican Party. I think people learned their lessons now. Hopefully.
Hopefully you're right. Hopefully you're right. And well, maybe it would be easier for him to accept his defeat when he was not president. So I mean, it was really hard for him to accept his defeat and losing his presidency. And this time he can win his the presidency. And as you said, people will be more prepared for a similar case like this. And yet there will be, after the election, regardless of the outcome, there will be violence, I think. And it will be hard to unite the people, and especially with the polarization of having only two parties, it will be very challenging not to have this. And also, like, what I would like to know is who's going to be the better president in terms of international relations. So do you think, that's a very interesting question, do you think Trump could end the Russian-Ukrainian war? As he said, he will end this war in a day?
In a day, I don't think so. Can he end the war? Yes, that I do believe. Why do I like? Don't forget. In the end, he's a special character, right? If he would end it at the right terms or at the right conditions, or you know what I mean, like that's something else. But like you cannot look next to the fact that uh, the guy is charismatic. The guy has a lot. Uh, like if you look at what happened with North Korea, that he went there, that like he's so out of character and so non-political that he could do it if then again the a certain spectrum of the United States and the ruling of the United States will be happy with it, then I don't believe so. But then again, we know from his first mandate that he doesn't care about that.
Yeah, well, he actually achieved some significant milestones. What many people tend to forget is that he was that under his presidency, it happened that the United Emirates and Israel made a peace deal, made an agreement, started to have relationships. And also with, was it Bahrain? I don't know. I think and Morocco. So this is something that fell under his presidency, and that no other.
They stopped fighting in Syria due to him. I know that a lot of people were not happy because Assad is still there, but in the end, the population is not suffering the war anymore.
Yeah, also true. And so probably you will say there's no more weapons to Ukraine. Donbass goes to Russia, and fuck off, Zelensky.
Probably something like that. Like, look, give Putin what he wants, and we stop the fighting. Something like that. Then on the other hand, if he does that, he will also request from Putin not to fight anymore against Ukraine, and then I do believe if then Putin is not listening to Trump and still wants to attack the rest of Ukraine, then there could be issues. But like in the end, he doesn't care. He's not a politician. He doesn't care about it. So, and again, we saw it with Syria. A lot of let's say normal politicians were not really happy with how it was dealt with because they really wanted Assad gone, and he was like, "No, I don't care about making Assad leave." I said the war in Ukraine will stop, and it stopped.
Yeah, and also the Middle East conflict will have a different dynamic. Netanyahu and Biden are not getting well on each other. Netanyahu is hoping for Trump. And well, regardless of that, the US will, regardless of who wins, the US will be a strong ally to Israel. Even Kamala Harris has said that she I think she's even married to her husband is Jewish, and she went to many Jewish American conventions, and she's supportive to Israel, and so this is something that will not change regardless of who's going to win the election.
Yeah. Well, Trump's preferred daughter, Ivanka, is married to a Jewish guy.
She converted to Judaism.
So on both sides will side with Israel, that's for sure. So
yeah, great. Maybe we should call this a day. It was more than an hour again. It was very, 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 very interesting talking to you. I really enjoyed it, and time was flying. And yeah, let's do it again. You know, whenever you can do that, let me know. Thursday is the preferred day, and yeah, thanks for joining on such a short notice, and that you found a slot to make that possible. Yeah.
All right, I will have to go prepare myself to have the family evening.
Yeah,
thank you, David.
All right, thanks again, and talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye bye.